Selling high and buying low is always great, but so is buying high at times if you buy into the player in question. We're going to talk about that with my guest, Bubba, also which you can find on KCBubba on Twitter. You can find on his various outlets. We'll talk about that when we come back here on the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Hey, everybody. Welcome to the RotoWire Fantasy Baseball Podcast. Jeff Erickson here with Brian Entrekin, also known as KCBubba, as you know, and 7,000 different outlets because fantasy baseball world is the hustle economy. Bubba, what's going on? How you doing, my friend?
I am doing great. Thanks for having me on. Always great to chat with you. Already looking forward to November when we can meet up and golf again. So we'll talk some baseball for the time being.
Maybe it'll be warmer next year when we play. I blame the rain and the cold. That's why I played badly. Even though Ryan Bloomfield shot his head out there, it just was so good that day.
We don't. He never brings that up on our show ever. Never talks about it.
It never comes up. I imagine. I was so lucky that day. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Exactly. Yeah. How many times can you be lucky in one day? I guess a lot.
We have a lot of headlines to talk about, but we're going to start off with our lead topic, which is buying high. And if you saw the tweet that went out, our cover boy is Jared Kelenic, who is off to a very nice start. So let's talk about, first of all, the concept of buying high. So it's easy to buy low, sell high if you get the right deal in place there. But buying high is really important in trading leagues. When you get the beat on a player, and you believe him to be real, and he is real the rest of the year, you can gain so much.
Yeah, it's a tricky fine line, I guess. And you'll probably be wrong more than you're right in the buy high department, but it's a fun concept because some people will think they're overachieving and will try to sell in that scenario, and that's the time to obviously buy high, like a Jared Kelenic that we'll talk about, or Pablo Lopez, or there's a bunch of players here and there, and it's when do you buy in? Is it a hot streak? Is it a real change? With so many great minds out there, statistics these days, we can kind of get a better idea if, hey, this is actually for real. We see like Yandy Diaz, this launch angle is a real thing. Like he's really doing this now. Things of those that nature that kind of makes it a bit of a difference for us.
That's a name I want to talk about here when we get going on this there. And the whole idea is if you're buying high theoretically, but you're really buying low. It's like Michael Scott. Let me tell you my weaknesses by telling you my strengths. I work too hard. I care too much. He pulls the ball too much into the stands. Yes, that's what we're talking about here. Let's talk Jared Kelenic. Had a great spring. It was a topic of he did have some draft helium, but it wasn't crazy draft helium. Those who have drafted him so far are pretty happy with their purchase.
Yeah, no doubt about it. And it's one of those things that it just goes to show the typical line that prospect growth isn't linear. Like we all wanted Jared Kelenic to be the guy. Like when the Mets traded him for Edwin Diaz, everyone thought the Mariners just robbed them blind of this scenario. And it turned out Robinson Cano was the biggest part the Mariners had for a long time. Go figure. Yeah. But Kelenic's finally being that guy. And it just takes time to make it happen. We're seeing his plate discipline has improved quite a bit. He's walking over 10% right now. When I do my articles, it's like guys that were hot this past week. Can we buy into this type scenario? Last week alone, he walked almost 14% of the time. Like these are big improvements. We saw his strikeout rate dropped almost 10% just from last year, which these are like little things, but for a young player, he's still only 23 years old. Like we got to remember that he's still super young. Jeff, you and I have been doing this for a while. That it used to be like 27, 28. We're hoping for breakouts. Now we're like all over the moon. If a guy has to do it by 22 or he's no good, like we expect the world right away. So a guy like Jared Kelenic, we're seeing the proper improvements in his game, and it just every stat you want to look at is his barrel rate's up. His hard hit rate's over 54% right now. Like he's doing everything you'd hope for and more. And they're playing him versus lefties. And that's a big thing that I looked at because it's not just a platoon situation. They want Jared Kelenic in the batting sixth in that lineup pretty much every single day. And if the Mariners do, who are a very good offense and have options to platoon him with, that should give fantasy managers something to think about going forward. Like, hey, they want him. Maybe we should too.
Only red flag I throw up is he's not getting it done in his own ballpark, which is kind of crazy.
Yeah. It is crazy. Well,
I'll
give a caveat there. I'll give a throwback there, and I might just be pure speculating. Then the Northwest in April, probably not the most conducive to hitting for power.
Right.
I'll throw
Well,
that out there.
it's not that crazy because it's a bad ballpark to hit in. It's always has been, and it's always tough on lefties, I feel like, too. And so he's got 40 plate appearances at home, 661 OPS. That is problematic. I shouldn't say it's crazy. It's problematic. I think that's a better word. He's had 12 plate appearances against lefties. I want to see more. But so far, so good as far as that goes, because he has been drawing walks against him, which we like. If he can lay off that breaking pitch, which has always been his big problem, righties and lefties alike, that would be wonderful.
That'd be outstanding. So, yeah, I'm loving what we're seeing. It's too early to kind of look at the X stats games, but he's, in theory, they're saying he's underachieving there, even in the power departments. So it's everything's pointing in the positive direction. So it's a guy that we've always hoped would have 25, 30 home run upside someday with a little bit of speed, maybe, if you can jump on that now, because some people, like you said, we're kind of buying low. Is people might think, hey, we got this guy that he's going to fall off a cliff again like he's done the last couple of years. I should trade him now while he's at his highest. Well, you could be trading for a guy that could be a potential top, 30 outfielder by the end of the season. And that's pretty big.
Right. So he was outfielder 44 in the main event. Average draft price was 187. It's a reasonable price. It's, in the early teens. If you're looking at today, if someone offers you Chris Bryant for him, are you taking that? Or which side of that coin would you rather be on?
It's a fun coin, because for any listeners of my show know I have been anti Chris Bryant for years.
Yeah.
So I'll take Jared Kelenic in that one, but I will put the caveat: Bryant looks healthy right now, but he does have a back issue, which always concerns me. So I'll take Kelenic in that one.
And happy Chris Bryant homering at Coors Field Day.
Finally,
2 of them this week already.
Yep.
Okay. Recently minted Ian Happ, having a massive week. Just got a contract extension. Which side of that would you rather have?
It's a good one as well. I'll still take Jared Kelenic. I will, because I'm a believer in the ceiling of Jared Kelenic. Where Ian Happ, the question I have for Happ is, last year we saw the batting average Happ. The year before we saw the power Happ. Which one is he? Which one is he going to be?
Yeah. I might take Happ on that one there. I really like what the Cubs are doing right now. I think he's in the middle of a pretty good lineup. And now the contract question is settled too. A lot of, we saw what happened. It plays differently for every player. Some people, contract year, got to get him. Sometimes you get Juan Soto turning down a contract. It's ruining him. We talked about that on Tuesday. And I did.
There's always that off the field thing we don't know about that affects players too.
Yeah, exactly. Nick Castellanos. He's supposed to be fixed.
He's supposed to be fixed. We all thought, okay, year 1 of the contract, okay, he's going to be ready for year 2. Great ballpark to hit in. It still doesn't look great. I'll take Jared Kelenic, but because Cassie's a between the years guy, and I think you might be hearing too many voices right at this point in time.
Kevin Long's supposed to fix him this year. I was spreading that narrative, so I'm a little wrong on that too, I suppose. But Cassie hasn't even hit a homer yet, which is crazy. Well, no Hoskins, no Derek Hall. I mean, no Harper, obviously. That hurts. You need him to step up, and he's not.
Well, you wonder if it's something in Philadelphia, because Schwarber's even off to a slow start. Real Muta just started getting to going. So maybe Philly's just – that team's so good. I think when they start clicking, they're all going to click, and then just watch out.
How about Tyler O'Neill? Down with – his own manager is down on him. But you spent a top 25 outfield spot on him, top 100 pick overall in the main event. Most likely. I mean, I think he had a max pick of 112. So, but who do you want there, Tyler O'Neill or Jared Kelenic?
Man, if I knew Tyler O'Neill would actually play every day, I would take Tyler O'Neill in a heartbeat. But between the manager and the platooning situations, I'm going Jared Kelenic right now, just because I know the playing time's there. And we talk about playing time being king so many times. And when Newbar came back, O'Neill was basically a platoon, a 4th outfielder, and he's playing versus lefties and the occasional fill-in spot off the bench when, Walker or someone else needs a break. So I'm going Kelenic, and that really pains me to say.
So I'll take that as a buy low for O'Neill. I think
100%. Yes, I'm with you there.
I think that it's going to get resolved one way or another. It might be Oliver Marmol getting fired for all we know.
He should be.
I mean, I hated how Marmol handled that.
Yeah, you don't do that.
Yeah, and the thing is, he might not be wrong. I did see O'Neill slowing down around third base on that play, the play in question, which sparked the whole debate. And I think there was other stuff leading up to that, and it was kind of like a final straw that he is trying to kind he's trying to cover himself up a little bit there, trying to protect himself from getting hurt. But, he got a big play at the plate. But you just don't go blabbing to the media about it there, just throwing your player under the bus. That's what I had a problem with.
100%. You don't do that, especially this early in the season. I wouldn't do it, period, ever. But this early in the season, it's just a big no-no. So they either need to trade O'Neill, trade some other out. They have an embarrassment of riches, but they need to fix it because O'Neill is a talent that I was buying in on this year. We talk about last year's ADP compared to this year. You're getting a gift on a guy coming off a bad injury-riddled season. Mm-hmm. I like the buy low aspect. It's just at this point in time, it's not fixed for me.
Yeah, it's not fixed now, which is why you can get it. That's why we're even, even talking about a theoretical offer there, but it is a theoretical offer. I was soliciting suggestions for buy high. So let's go with a couple of players here that we could possibly do that with. We got Ace of Cards says Anthony Volpe. Still might get him at a decent price. Now, I don't know what a decent price is right now, but batting a little lower, but he is running wild on the base pass. 8 for 8 going into today.
He is running wild, and that is the plus. He's not showing a whole lot else, to be honest about it. He's played his best when he gets to lead off, but he's not leading off every day. So that's something that obviously the manager gets to decide. Mm-hmm. You just don't. I'm curious to see how it all plays out when the injured players return, because they always already have Oswald Peraza up, who I think is actually a better. I've always been thinking he's better now. Volpe probably long term. So I wouldn't be buying high on Volpe. We could even see him back in the minors before you know it. So I don't think we will right away, but he needs to be a little more consistent. A little power would be nice.
Yeah, I was on Team Peraza in draft season, and I still hold him like in AL Tout Wars, a couple of leagues. I did cut him in the main when he got sent down, and I don't regret that. I held on to Beatty. I couldn't hold on to both, so I had to choose Peraza or Beatty, and turns out they came back the same weekend, but. You look at Peraza, he's not playing every day yet. Exactly. I have one share of Volpe. It was the very last draft I did. It was totally a FOMO pick, 6th round in a 15-team mix coming back. I'm getting all the stolen bases I want. So he's not killing me, but I did the Volpe Jordan Walker combo there. I was like, I got to get those guys. I don't know. I don't know if that's going to work out or not. We'll see.
It's always fun though.
Yep. Adam Warner says Josh Lowe and Nolan Gorman. Let's take Josh Lowe first on the Rays. Flopped last year after being part of Favapalooza last year. Looking better this year. It's go funny. Go little post hype there.
Very much post hype. This is the big one. Vlad Sedler, our friend, has been pounding the drums for Josh Lowe.
Yeah.
And he's playing regularly now. We're seeing the power there. His contact skills, if you look at his zone contacts, just his overall swing rates, his overall contact rates, they're all going up. He's showing everything you want to see. He's got the power and speed that we've wanted from him in the minors that he's always produced. I'm a big fan of this. And one of the caveats, and obviously Jose Siri's out and he's coming back soon, and that'll kind of mix things up a bit, is the Rays love the platoon, and somehow he's not getting platooned right now where other guys are. And that's a promising thing. So I'm buying in on Josh Lowe. I think they're going to have to he's forcing their hand. And I like to see that from a young ball player.
I do too. It's just the Rays raying is the thing that we worry about a little bit there, just because they have so many options. But man, he's really kind of busting down that door. Let's talk about his teammate there, Yandy Diaz. Launching, he was the hard hit king, and now all of a sudden he's turning that into launch angle.
It's ridiculous, Jeff, when you look at what he's done this year. I wrote about him like 2 weeks ago, maybe in the same column, because I apologize to everybody. I was just like, prove it to me. And he's proved it to me already. I'm taking a quick L on this one because it's impressive. The launch angle, he's up to an almost 15-degree launch angle. His career high 7.9. His barrel rate's up to 17% because he's not hitting the ball into the ground, like a 56% hard hit rate. Everything you want to see from Yandy Diaz, he's finally doing. He's still hitting for a decent batting average. It's legit to see that big of a gain, even if it reduces just a bit. That's still a gigantic gain from the past. So I think he's a great buy high. I think Alex Fast tweeted it out when Yandy hit his 6th home run of the year on Wednesday. He's 8 away from his career high. I think he'll have that pretty soon. Wow. So yes, I'd buy into Yandy.
Yeah, and you got him so cheap too. What a beautiful! Yeah. If you waited on third base, you still got Yandy, and now he has first base eligibility to boot. That's pretty nice.
Very nice. Very, very nice. Yep.
Yeah. Okay, a couple more we'll throw at you here as far as that goes. As far as buy highs go, We talked Tyler O'Neill. What about his teammate Nolan Gorman?
I love Nolan Gorman. I don't know who this individual is that mentioned these questions, but these are like two players I've been really pounding the drum on in certain shows I've been doing. Nolan Gorman, and it's funny, they're all a lot of post-hype guys. Gorman came up last year, kind of, didn't really get it done. They were talking about the high strikeout rate and all that good stuff. It's dropped a lot this year already. He's making a lot more contact. The power's there. It's just everything you want to see in the development of a young ball player, Nolan Gorman is doing. And I love to see it. And again, the Cardinals are a lot like the Rays in the idea that they have a lot of platoon options. Yet Nolan Gorman is not getting platoon. The one thing I'll say, he kind of is, I guess, because he's not facing lefties a ton. That has been an issue with Nolan Gorman. But they've been still getting him out there when they can. And the second the lefty's out, he's back in the game. So he's one of those late, like he hit the home run. I know it was a blowout against Mad Bum, but he went deep. So they're getting him in there. I love what I'm seeing from Nolan Gorman, and this is a guy that I'd be buying as well.
Yeah, I think so. And the thing is, it's just the Cardinals just with their multitude of options. Brendan Donovan didn't play the other day against Mad Bum. So, which you're like, you missed out on a Mad Bum game? Come on.
The last one, maybe.
Yeah, maybe. Certainly with Arizona, it's the last one. They've had enough of that. So there's that action there. But that is definitely the tricky part there. Okay. I practiced what you preached, and I bought high on Jorge Mateo. Got hurt yesterday, unfortunately. He's day-to-day with a knee issue. A hip issue, excuse me. We'll see if what happens with that, with his issue, with the health there as far as that goes. But has Jorge Mateo turned a new leaf?
I think he has. And a lot of it comes down to, Mateo was strictly a stolen base guy. That's all we cared about with Mateo. Hit 220. We don't care. He's hitting for average now. The power, he's overachieving. I will first admit that, a 378 BABIP is nuts. But in 2021, he had a 324 BABIP. That's not insane. So you could still get like a 260, 270 average. It'll be a big drop from now. But I think the power is legit, and he's on pace for I would say 45, 50 stolen bases, which is just nuts. Like the reason I was worried about Mateo out the gate is even in spring training, it didn't look like he had a full-time job. It was like all over the board on what was happening with him. Oh, he's locked in. He is locked into that position. So I like your buy. Obviously, you can't predict injuries. We hope the hip isn't serious because we need him to run. That is very important. But I do like the changes we're seeing at the plate with him.
Yeah, I traded Lucas Giolito for him. This is mixed labor where I lost O'Neill Cruz and Corey Seager in the span of 3 days. Joe Sheehan just so kindly rescued me. And
what a good friend.
Yes,
I see someone that needs a shortstop. Let's dangle the carrot.
yes. He's a lightly used Jorge Mateo, as he said. And the thing is, I've just got. I also have pitcher injuries too. I have a multitude of injuries, but I figure I got a better chance in finding help on the waiver wire with pitchers than I do with fielders. So, and it's a stricter budget as far as labor goes in terms of the fab. It's 100, not 1,000. There are no $0 bids. There's no trading of fab. You can make other trades. And so it's a lot less granular. I have to be, I spent a little bit early trying to fill other holes. So now I kind of have to be a little circumspect, a lot of $1, $2 bids the rest of the way. So we'll see what happens with that. But Giolito, of course, threw a shutout in his first start for Joe.
Yeah, his last two starts have been good. Gio's, he worried me early on, but he looks like he's starting to hopefully figure things out. Not for your sake, obviously, but in general.
Actually, I hope so because I still have other shares of Giolito, and I believed in him. I was talking him up. So,
me too.
As much as I also want to do well in my leagues, I also want my advice to be right, and I think that's really important.
That was a great topic of conversation last week all over Twitter.
Yes, it was.
I'm with you on that one. I'm with you on that one. Yes.
Yeah. Jeff Zimmerman wrote a really good article talking about how much our role in the industry does it affect our play. I'll ask you that question. How much do you feel like does it hurt you, help you, just being in this, being a purveyor of fantasy baseball information? How does it help your play?
I think it helps me because it makes me do more research on things to more players, more knowledgeable in that scenario. I'd rather, I know James Anderson and others also came out and said it. I'd rather my listeners and followers benefit from my help more often than not. Then obviously I want to win. I'm not saying I don't want to, but if I had to weigh the two options, I'm putting in all this work to help other people also. So I want to see them succeed. And that's kind of the way I look at it. I don't play in the main event. I play in some OCs and stuff. So I still have money on the table, obviously, but I don't have the thousands upon thousands that many do. So yeah, I want to win, but I want to help other people more.
Yeah. And I said that I actually don't think people tail my picks that much. I think they listen to my advice, but my competitors in the main event, the NFBC, they've invested their money. I don't really think they're going to try to snipe my players so much as they're going to do the research themselves anyhow.
100%.
So I'm not really that worried. I think it hurts me in terms of time allocation towards my fab budget. Doing two sports, doing football hurts me.
That's the big one. I dropped football a couple years ago. Like I still do my golf, but that's like early in the week. You can kind of work around that.
Yeah.
I dropped off football. Like I still play it. I love it. I don't do any content for it anymore.
Yeah. I miss gaming golf, by the way. I wish we were still doing that, but we just weren't getting enough listeners. It's fun. I still do DFS golf, but I miss our fun little podcast that we did. Maybe next year we'll bring it back. I don't know. We'll see if I can convince the powers that be to do that there. But anywho, before we go on and talk a little bit more in terms of buy highs and other news of the day, let's take care of a little bit of business here. We've got two awesome sponsors in Rival Fantasy and Vivid Seats. Let's go ahead and share their news here with us. A new MLB season means it's time for a new kind of daily fantasy baseball. Rival Fantasy is the fantasy platform reinventing the way daily and weekly games are played, and they've brought new games to the ballpark this year that fantasy players won't find anywhere else. Rival Fantasy's games include Fantasy Bingo, head-to-head player challenges, and Fantasy Book, where users can select over-unders for 2 to 5 players. With games like this, daily fantasy has never been better. Right now, RotoWire listeners can get a $50 protected first play. That means if you win your first play, you keep your winnings. But if you lose your first entry, Rival Fantasy will fully refund you up to $50. Go to play.rivalfantasy.com/signup and use code RotoWireMLB at signup and deposit a minimum of $25 to get your first entry on Rival protected up to $50. Now's the time to step up to the plate and become a Rival today. Welcome to the arena. RotoWire Fantasy Baseball podcasts are also sponsored by Vivid Seats. Baseball is back. Swing into the MLB season with Vivid Seats and score tickets to all the hottest matchups and biggest games of the year. Every crack of the bat, every deep center fly, every heart-pounding double play of your favorite team, live and in person. Plus, with Vivid Seats rewards, now you earn rewards with every single purchase. Each ticket you buy gets you closer to your reward. Just buy 10 tickets and simply cash in your credit toward your 11th ticket purchase. It's that easy. Pro reward tip: buy tickets for your whole group, split the bill, and make progress towards your free 11th ticket even faster. From behind the plate to the upper deck, Vivid Seats has great tickets for all the 2023 games that matter to you. Just visit vividseats.com or download the app today. Vivid Seats, experience it live. See vividseats.com/rewards for terms and conditions. Finally, we are on the Blue Wire Network. Here are their ads. All right. Thank you for your indulgence and patience on that. Pretty soon we won't be able to use Vivid Seats in Oakland, unfortunately. News came down late last night, midnight. A midnight news drop. Oh, we're fully committed to building a stadium in Vegas. Binding contract to build a stadium. From implication is the A's are moving to Vegas. The deck was stacked, in my opinion. Here, I don't think Oakland ever had a chance.
No, first off, it's the most A's ownership thing to do, drop it at midnight. Like I woke up to the news on the West Coast. It just made me laugh. A's being A's, basically. It was never happening in Oakland. Like the Jack London Square proposal was a beautiful stadium on the water. It was probably the best deal they were going to get offered, and they found a way not to do it. Like even as much as I hate, many hate Rob Manfred, he even quasi supported it. We've not obviously fully supported the Jack London deal. The ownership just wanted nothing to do with it. It was going to Vegas the whole time. That's what they wanted. They finally did it. It stinks. Like, you got Jenstead and some other guys. I feel for them. Like it's a bad stadium. As a Giants fan, I remember Candlestick Park. That was a dump too. But there's something about being your dump that makes it a special place. And like it's just, you feel for the A's fans. They were great fans. The 12 of them that show up every night, and it's not going to happen anymore.
Yeah, and attendance was a problem, but the thing is, I don't think the team put any money into the stadium either.
Or the team.
Yeah, and they destroyed a playoff team, right at the end of the lockout. Even before that, they were starting the destruction. Reds and the A's at the same time. Good. Scott and I just had a mutually assured destruction podcast, basically. Unfortunately, it was awful. But I do have to say it's tough seeing this happen there. And the thing is, the league is complicit in this too. There was a deal in place to go to San Jose, and instead the league said no. We're going to preserve this for the Giants. This is their territory. It's a pretty big territory. San Jose.
That's a single A team they have in San Jose. Give me a break. It's their territory.
Yeah. And San Jose itself is like at least an hour outside of San Francisco. Come on.
At least, yes.
The San Francisco general area can support two teams, no problem. So very disappointing to see that. They, on a day after where they promoted their top pitching prospect, Mason Miller. Did you get a chance to catch any of Miller's debut?
I watched all the highlights. I listened to it on the radio, watched the highlights, watched all the GIFs that were breaking Twitter. He's as electric as we thought he'd be. He lived up to the hype in that regard. It was great to see. I'm just the guy that's completely confused on the dude hasn't thrown innings. What are we doing here? I don't know what's going to take place fantasy-wise with Mason Miller. He's going to go for a lot of money this week, and you and I both know that. But I'm confused about that situation. But as a whole, he was awesome, and I'm looking forward to watching him next time. Yeah,
I am too. I didn't get to I saw it the same way you did. I didn't get to see a lot of it contemporaneously. A guy that misses 5 months last year with shoulder problems, though, I got to say my bids are going to be pretty tempered, especially for on a team that is not just bad, but they appear to be special bad. The bullpen is hideous. The offense is bad.
They're not going to win games. They have 0 starting pitching wins so far this season. 0 in 18 games. So, and Miller might not go 5 innings in any game. So it's just like the list against him is the deck is stacked, as you would say. So, it's a tough one. I'll have keep him honest bids that will be keeping the keep him honest bids honest probably this week.
I'm thinking no more than like 25 and a 12, no more than 50 and a 15. And that might be too much.
Yeah, I'm with you because he's going to go for triple digits. And I hope he's great, but I don't know for how long.
Right. It's the same problem that my Reds face. Hunter Green, Nick Lodolo, Graham Ashcraft. I don't have them in the main event. I don't have them in, much of. I have like maybe one share of Lodolo in the online championship. I love Lodolo, but you see like the Philly game where they blew the game for him was just frustrating as all hell. And then he got blown up by the Rays too, and he got left hung out to dry. That was brutal.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. So tough break there as far as that goes. But anyway, I probably won't be wholly in on Mason Miller. Good luck to ever those that will. Let's talk a little bit about a couple other things. There's a big item here today, and that's yesterday, and that was Max Scherzer. We saw him get ejected after, he got examined coming back in with a different glove. They examined him again. And it turns out that he had too much sticky stuff, and they ejected him.
It's a sticky situation, as they would say.
Oh no, you didn't. That's okay.
I felt dirty doing it on your show, but I had to.
No, I appreciate you. I'll do the Jack Nicholson nod thing here. All right, yeah.
But it's like Scherzer. If there's one guy that I don't think would really ever cheat, maybe I'm naive in this situation, it's Max Scherzer. If he says it's rosin, I believe him that it's rosin. And that's a quote unquote thing they're all allowed to use. Like they're allowed to use rosin. We've known from the day they talked about this ban that rosin and sweat form a sticky substance. He was pitching a day game. It was warm for California standards this time of year. Like he's going to be sweating out there. The rosin's going to form it. They said it was stickier than any sticky substance we've ever seen. Okay, whatever. But even Max's post game was great. He's like, you'd have to basically be a complete idiot to come back out there with sticky stuff the second time, even if they told you the first time, like, go change your glove. He's like, why would I do that? They already let me off the hook. Why would I do it again? And that's 100% correct. You'd be a complete moron if you did that. So I'm looking forward to seeing where this goes. All reports say it's basically inevitable. He can't fight the 10-game suspension because he got tossed. Once you get tossed, it's pretty much a done deal.
Yeah.
The other caveat, which you'll probably mention, is it's been Phil Cuzzy all 3 times. So let's look at that one as well. Maybe a little closer MLB. Well, God forbid we hope MLB does anything smart, but that would be something to look at as well. So yeah, it's a slippery slope. And Domingo Germán got away with everything the other day. So wash your hands, kids.
Yeah, and so the thing is, and there was one part of the interview that was telling, and it was highlighted. I think I want to. I said I think I heard it on MLB Network Radio. If it's not there, I apologize. But he said that he washed his hands with rubbing alcohol, and that actually activates rosin in terms of the stickiness. So he almost, he kind of told on himself in a way.
Yeah. Well, they've come out and said, because that part was a good point you mentioned, because some other players off the record yesterday came out and said that a lot of starting pitchers are putting rubbing alcohol on the sides of their pants so they could rub their pants to then touch the rosin and make sticky substances. So yeah, he basically let the whole thing cat out of the bag in this scenario. Right. That's gonna make this even worse. So he did tell on himself. I think it's almost, I could be totally wrong, because maybe I'm just buying into Max Scherzer too much, but he seems so calculated in what he does that I almost think he's saying this to be like, hey, dummies, we figured you out already. Like, we're doing this, and all I have to do is wash my hands. Like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
But I could be wrong.
And, other substances, you use rubbing alcohol to clean, but not with rosin. So thought that was interesting. So he misses a 2-start week next week too. That's the thing that's kind of a killer for his fantasy managers. He goes 3 innings in this one. He would have drawn, 2-start against Washington at home, and then Atlanta, which 1 out of 2 ain't great. That's not bad. It's definitely not bad. But now they got to figure out, who's going to step in. This is a team that's already down Carrasco. They're already down Verlander. Maybe Verlander comes back in the interim there. Maybe that's like kind of pushes the final push there, because we still don't have an official return date for Verlander.
No, and like the last I saw, he was still kind of slow going his comeback. They were thinking May. So this might not happen either. So it might be like early May, which would negate this situation as well. So maybe Cohen just says, you know what, screw it. Let's not wait till the deadline. Let's trade for Shohei right now. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, good luck with that.
That'd be a Cohen move, though. I'm telling you, what's the offer, Angels? I'll sweeten it for you.
Yeah, I guess. But at the same time, you can't just, I guess it'd have to be a hell of an offer, though. I mean, Brett Beatty, Alvarez, who else?
Everybody. No, I mean, Beatty, Alvarez, toss in maybe one of their best farm pitchers. It have to be a lot. It'll never happen, but it's a thing. Like, I see it happening towards the trade deadline. This early is tough, but maybe he goes, you know what? We need someone. We need him now.
Yeah, I guess Joey Lucchesi is a guy that's going to be in that rotation, making his comeback after pretty lengthy absence.
Yeah, and man, he's been around when he used to be the next best thing in San Diego. Then he got traded to Pittsburgh. Now he's in New York. Maybe one day it'll finally happen. I saw that comment earlier.
Yeah,
mad bum to the Mets. As temperamental as Max Scherzer is, I don't think that would work out very well. Let's just put it that way.
Well, is Mad Bum washed? Is he done?
This pains me, because as a Giants fan, I owe him so much gratitude. Much gratitude for what he did. He's never been the same since then. I think we can all realize that. I'm glad they didn't re-sign him. I don't like this shtick he keeps doing out there, like, yelling at Contreras yesterday and stuff. Like, just pitch. You need to be a good pitcher to make comments like that. Let's put it
right. Exactly.
Like, you need to be able to back it up. I think he's washed for the fact his stuff's not what it used to be. So he needs to learn how to be a pitcher, not a thrower. He doesn't want to be a pitcher. And for that, I think he's washed.
Yeah. He's had his moments with the Diamondbacks, but this was kind of foretold. I mean, it was never like, oh yeah, they got mad. He threw that weird kind of sort of no-hitter against the Braves in the shortened game. Yeah. That came out of the blue, but that was also like, it was a rain shortened game. But yeah, for the most part, he's had a lot of bad outings mixed with the temporary bouts of good starts there. He hasn't been able to reinvent himself. And I don't think he's ever been the same since the dirt bike accident.
No, he has not. He needed to pull a full Zach Greinke, but he didn't have the mindset to do that, unfortunately. So it was never going to happen. And for his sake, I hope he rides off into the sunset. I think he's too much of an egotistical maniac at this point in time to do that. So for fantasy purposes, let's hope he goes to Colorado or something, and we can stack against him once a week.
Yeah, right. Although we can do it anywhere, really.
Yeah, true. He doesn't need the ballpark help. You're right.
Right. It's funny comparing him versus Clayton Kershaw, who's kind of had to reinvent himself too. Kershaw only goes up to like 90, 91 right now. He throws more sliders than anything.
Yep.
And it was brilliant the other day against the Mets.
Amazing.
Comparing those two.
Amazing.
I mean, it's just like Kershaw's a different, and adaptation is not an easy skill. It's not an easy, it's not an easy trait to have.
No, it's becoming a pitcher. That's why I said, like, Bum doesn't want to. Kershaw did. You need to take the Glavine and Maddox formula. Those guys did not throw hard. They pitched. These older guys need to learn how to pitch while the young kids come up and throw gas. That's just the reality of the situation, and Bumgarner was never going to do that.
No, he wasn't. You mentioned, you're a Giants guy. Mad Bum's a former Giants guy. Let's talk about your Giants.
Do we have to?
I'm sorry, Bubba, but
I know.
It was a low key. It wasn't even low key. It was an awful offseason for them. They thought they had Judge. They didn't even get Arson Judge, but they, let alone Aaron Judge. They thought they had Correa. Then they decided they didn't. They backed away from the table, basically spotting something. And that might, history might prove them right as far as that goes.
Yeah. But
it was so late in the game that there was no one else to go pick up. And they're left with Brandon Crawford and whatever he's got left in the tank at shortstop again this year. They aside from 1 3-day series in Chicago, I mean, they really haven't gotten a whole lot going here, especially offensively, well under 500 in a really tough division. How do they dig themselves out of this hole?
They don't. That's the way I guess is literally going to be a season where I hope they win like 2 games a week, maybe just to keep my interest a little longer. Mm-hmm. They platoon themselves almost too much now. They get almost too cute with it. It's almost like a football metaphor. If you have 2 quarterbacks, do you have 1? They have so many position players like that platoon that they actually have a set of 9 players take the field. It's a really confusing situation with them. Like you have Flores, you have JD Davis, who's playing well now, but just be patient. Don't overdo that. That's all I'm saying. They brought Darren Ruff back to take at bats away from young players. That's everything you need to know. That made me so angry when they did that. It's like, guys, we're going to stink. Play the young kids. No, let's get Darren Ruff and bat him third every game. Like, this is just ridiculous. I just hope Yaz can do his thing, maybe get Conforto healthy and trade him. We still haven't even seen Haniger yet. That's supposed to be like our big acquisition. I liked it.
I liked Haniger at the time, but that was like in conjunction with other things.
Yeah, that was like, oops, we missed on everything else. Let's go sign Haniger.
Yeah. Desclafani's pitching well.
When healthy, he's great. Like really good, but that's when healthy. So yeah, it's not going to be like 2021 where they surprised everybody. Let's put it that way. It's going to be a lot more like 2022 and probably slightly worse.
Did 2021 set the rebuild of this organization back?
Yes, because they needed to be more sellers than buyers, because when Farhan took over, they had a good, core of young talent in place, and given the young talent hasn't paid off either. I told the story before. I was sitting at the AFL Home Run Derby right next to James Anderson, and we were sitting there behind home plate, and I asked him, I said, be honest with me, because I think I know the answer, but you would be the guy to ask, how bad is our farm system? Because 3-4 years ago, the Giants had one of the top 5 systems in baseball.
Right.
And James looks at me and goes, it's not good at all. I'm like, okay, that's what I thought. Like the Helio Matos and Helio Ramos, I mean, he's back up, and he was supposed to be the next big outfielder. He's nothing. We got so many players that are a mess that they were supposed to be a part of the rebuild that didn't happen. So yes, it's a long answer to your thing. It's what happens. You got me talking Giants. You're going to get a lot of
that's all right
out of me.
Pull the string. I just don't have to work. It's beautiful.
Yeah, it put them back because they bought in and they made a run. Like it was really close to being fun, but in reality, they needed to step back and be like, hey, we're like 3 or 4 pieces away. Let's keep the movement going towards those pieces. And then we can be something in like 2024, 25, where I still don't think that's possible now.
Yeah, I think it's not just that they made a run; it's the degree to which they did too. I mean, winning so many games like that, more than the Dodgers, for that matter. I mean, it diluted them a little bit. But I mean, how can it not? I mean, how can you not think you're a contender when you win over 100 games? I mean, it's just, how do you follow that up? And they have this money to spend. Money is not a problem for the Giants. It's just they couldn't get anybody to take their money.
Yeah, and you nailed it. What angered me the most is the Correa thing. I wasn't the biggest Correa guy to begin with, but during that process of being tied up with Correa, they lost out on Rodon. That's looking good for now, but they lost out on Dansby Swanson. We need a shortstop. That would have been a great fallback if all else failed. And then a couple other players. It's just a trickle-down effect, and it just epitomized the entire offseason, which basically when you have an offseason like that, when you're rebuilding, you literally set yourself back another year or two because you did nothing. You did nothing to help for the future. And It's just a bummer. And it's one of those, we as fans, some fans that are kind of naive in the situation. They're saying they have to go get Shohei or it's all a failure. I'm like, Shohei's not going to fix the problem, guys. It's just not going to happen.
Either, by the way.
No, he wants to win, and I don't blame him. Like, he needs to be in a big market to win. The Giants is a big market, don't get me wrong, but he needs to win, and SF ain't it.
Yeah, I agree. I just they would need to do another big signing before that, and that to show like, okay, we're announcing our presence with authority, basically.
Yes, it's not going to happen, unfortunately.
We had such a beautiful free agent, a shortstop free agent market the last 2 years, and it's not going to be nearly as good this year.
No, we had our chance, and as Denny Green would say, we let them off the hook. So it's over.
Yeah. Now we are what they think they are, but unfortunately. But okay, let's talk about a couple other issues going on. Shortstop Mookie Betts. He's on the paternity list for at least one more day. He's not going to play tonight against the Cubs.
Well, wait, Jeff. We just got like about 20 minutes ago whenever you're doing your ads, I was looking at some news. He's on his way to the ballpark, and Dave Roberts said if he gets there if he gets there on time, he will be put in the lineup.
Oh, really?
So it's like it might be a lot because there might be a rain delay to postpone the game. So it's I can look for the report again, but it was from one of the beat reporters from the Dodgers that Mookie Betts is on his way to the ballpark. He landed in Chicago, and he's going straight from the airport to Wrigley Field. So it's we might get shortstop Mookie Betts on Thursday night.
Wow. The next question is, how much does that move the needle? Because Mookie Betts has not been Mookie Betts so far, especially doesn't have a stolen base yet.
He has not been Mookie Betts so far. I am not worried about Mookie Betts not being Mookie Betts so far. Certain players, I think you can agree with that. You just kind of be like, okay, let's wait until at least May a little bit. Like, give these guys some time to get loose. Who knows? His wife just had a child. Maybe there was something going on at home. Like there was something we don't know about, the complications or something that
or just
had his mind elsewhere.
Having it. It doesn't even have to be a complication. If you've ever had a kid, you just know it's like it's
all the last minute appointments. She's on edge because she's so close to the finish line. Like there's a million things that could be going on. And the other part is, as depleted as shortstop is, you can be like Mookie Betts that's now shortstop eligible. That's tremendous. So I'm not worried about Mookie Betts.
I'll say I am worried about the stolen bases. Sprint speed has been declining the last couple of years. He's kind of at an age where, you see this with center fielders a lot, where they hit like 29, 30, 31. They start to decline pretty quickly. And you start moving into the corner. Now, he was already in the corner. We will put Mookie in the corner, except we're going to put him at second and short too.
His new baby can go put in the corner.
Yeah.
Let's be fair, though. About the speed that you mentioned, sorry, but he hasn't stolen more than 12 bases in 3 years. Like I think we were already, if you're drafting him to be an amazing steals guy, I think you're kind of on the wrong page there. But I guess
what if he's a 5 stolen base
you're hoping for? Yeah, that's
what if he's a 5 bag guy instead of a 10 bag guy, though? I mean,
especially in this environment, that's big.
Yeah, that matters. It does matter. We're clawing and fighting for every stolen base we can get.
Sure.
And especially when a category is more present, you have to get more of them. When it's scarce, you can get by with a little bit less. I don't know. I'm slightly concerned about him. We'll see.
I guess the other question I have though is the Dodgers just aren't stealing in general. I think I saw a stat the other day; they only have like 3 stolen bases or something. They're not running, and so I wonder if that's a philosophy thing or what. Because even Freddie Freeman used to steal a bag from time to time. They don't have Trey Turner anymore. Of course, Muncie's not running, but you'd figure they'd have a few more bags by now, and they don't have anything.
Yeah. I'm just trying. Yeah, it's not really a running lineup. There's Outman.
No. Yeah.
And
maybe Trace.
Yeah.
It's not much. You go around that diamond. Chris Taylor's supposed to run, but he can't get on base, so that doesn't really matter.
He either strikes out or homers. That's the only two things he does. Yeah. It's not a fast lineup. How did this happen so fast? It's crazy.
Yeah. And I say things and people think I'm just clowning on the Dodgers a lot because sometimes I am. But you look at the team coming into the season, and this ain't the Dodgers of the recent years. This is a different team that's going to have to fight a little more for wins, and the speed's a big part of it. Like that's why letting Trey Turner go, I thought was a vital mistake on their part. Like that, they needed him to start the top of that lineup for all the power bats behind it. That was a big mistake, I thought.
I agree, and it's the depth isn't there that they've had in other years. They lose a player or two, okay, it's fine. Funny thing is, WRC plus they're still 5th in baseball at 114, but it's like peaks and valleys. It seems like with them, there's not that consistency, and their pitching's not matching it. I mean, they've struggled in the bullpen. They've also been a little bit overworked. And the fourth and fifth spots in the rotation have been a problem. Michael Grove was not ready. He was overmatched. Getting Gonsolin back someday, eventually, will be nice, but he keeps having setbacks. He keeps getting pushed back, kind of like Verlander we were talking about earlier.
Yeah, no, they're definitely taking the long way to get to the season, and it's also postponing us getting to see Gavin Stone, who we'd all like to see. So It's just a trickle down effect right now.
Yeah, I was on VSiN at the start of the season with over under win totals, and I did I did advocate for the under a 96.5. It's a long season. They could go on a tear any moment now, but they don't look the part right now. I'll say that.
They don't look like a team that's going to put together like 12, 13 in a row like they had in the past. They'll put some like 5 and 6s maybe, but those big ones, I don't see it coming.
Yeah, I don't either. And they've had trouble getting games to Evan Phillips. They want Evan Phillips to close, but they've had trouble getting other reliable people. We haven't seen, for instance, Shelby Miller's been solid. I know we have a regular listener, Uncle Ted, who is regularly advocating for Shelby Miller to close. I think he's walks too many guys to be a closer, but nonetheless, they just not a lot of other pitchers like Vesia is having a terrible season so far.
He's supposed to be a big lefty force for them. Gratterall's been okay, but not great by any means. Hudson, he was supposed to be back by now. It felt like he's not even close, it looks like. So, it's just like a lot of the pieces that were supposed to be there for this Dodgers run are just not there. So, I don't know. I'm not worried about them. I still think they probably win the West just because they are that good. But San Diego's going to be a tough out too.
Yeah, that's true. Have a couple homers already in the night slate here. CJ Cron is homered against the Phillies, and Connor Joe doesn't need to be in Coors Field to homer still. He's still homered off of Jared Weaver. This is my shock face that Jared Weaver has given up a 3-run bomb. But
First start back from the IL. Thanks for coming.
Yeah, well, I think he's if you rostered him, you're wish casting. You're not forecasting. And he just 100%. Gave up another homer while we speak. I'm trying to see who that is. Is that
Jack Sawinski? Probably.
Yep, it is Sawinski.
I'll say if it's after Joe, it's Sawinski. So that's who it is.
5th homer of the year for Sawinski. So Pirates still rolling.
Sneaky team. If they could get that pitching to keep throwing the way they are, which is a big if because it's a lot of young arms, but that offense is sneakier than you think.
Yeah, it is. Andrew McCutchen is having a hell of a start to the season there.
I love to see
K rate has gone way down. He's stealing bases. He's hitting for power. He's found this elixir, this fountain of youth.
He's playing with youth. He's having fun. God forbid someone has fun playing baseball and then things just start clicking a little bit. It's amazing how that works.
Yeah, there was not a whole lot of optimism about the Pirates going into the season. There still isn't a ton of optimism for the Pirates going forward, I think. I mean, you look at the names and the names don't impress. The performance has so far, but I'm curious to see what they do next.
Well, the problem is that they feel like they should be in the remakes of Major League. They should do the Pirates. That's kind of what it feels like because this is the moment they're about to be good, and the owner comes in and just trades Brian Reynolds and then trades someone else to just completely derail the entire run of good fortune in Pittsburgh. And that's what I'm afraid of. They're actually going to put together because that Central, as much as we love St. Louis and Milwaukee, with the extra wild card spots, Pittsburgh could make it kind of interesting. I'm not saying they're going to, but they can make it interesting. And I know it's a balanced schedule now too, so that changes a lot of things. But I think they can fight enough to be like 500, 10 games over 500, and that could sneak you into a wild card game.
I feel like they're going to be relevant in the wild card chase until like August, and then they'll start to fade a little bit. And I think it's the pitching that'll hold them back. But they'll be like that push at trade deadline. Should they trade for a starter? Should they, instead of trading Bednar, should we trade for a pitcher? That could be a little bit something to watch there. News item here. This is not good.
Yeah,
BZA, RZA, GZA was talking about Logan O'Hoppe hurting himself swinging with his shoulder. So this is the second time this week that's happened. The first time happened on Monday.
Yeah, came back, got an RBI single, seemed fine. And that's if you search Logan O'Hoppe's name on Twitter, it's all over the place now. This stinks. I'm a big O'Hoppe fan. I have a lot of shares of O'Hoppe. This reminds me of Tatis all over again. and we know how well that works. And he's a catcher to top it off. That's kind of tough to catch with a shoulder like that too.
That is tough. And the Angels, they really they can't afford any setbacks like this at all. We've heard, the drum beat gets louder that Ohtani's gone at the end of the year. Ohtani's gone. We talked about this earlier. If they win, that could change things up a little bit. It's been a tough week for them. They struggled in Boston this week. Now they're in New York and not winning. 2 franchises that might be bidding for Ohtani's services, by the way, in the offseason. So, brutal news there. We'll see that one. Yeah,
too many injuries, Jeff. This is like this seems like crazy. I know it's probably not that crazy. Like Derek Rhodes will probably come out with a stat saying we're almost in line with previous seasons, but It just seems like so many like fantasy relevant players just keep going down with not like nickel and dime injuries. These are like big injuries that are not fun right now.
No, not at all. It's really rough. There's not much more I can say about that. So Kenta Maeda go down tonight or today during the day game there. Got hit by a rocket right up the middle off his ankle. Made the play and then it was down in like agony for a few minutes. Got helped off the field, came out of the game. X-rays on his ankle after the game were negative.
Yep.
And he says it's not even that bad. So we'll see.
We'll see the swelling tomorrow morning.
Yeah, that's the tricky part there. Every time Maeda's on the mound, it's like, where's the bubble wrap?
That's how I felt today because they pushed him back. He's been showing the good swing and strike rates and everything. The whole Minnesota team, it's like an exercise in, hey, we got good coaching. See what we can do. And I was just like thinking in my head, okay, they pushed him back. Please just strike guys out again. First couple innings, he wasn't even getting a lot of swing and misses, and then he takes one off the shin. I'm like, well, at least it was his shin. I thought someone was going to say his forearm was busted or something. So let's just hope for the little things.
Yeah, I have one main event share of Maeda. We'll see if how that holds out because the rest of the Minnesota pitching has been excellent. The whole staff is good. Their bullpen's good. Not today. Not Emilio Pagan. He needs to be DFA'd. He's no good. But a lot of that bullpen's great. Rotation's great. They've got like Bailey Ober just waiting to get the call.
Yep. Yeah, it's like an Arizona conundrum. They just have these pitchers waiting to get the call. Did they forget the phone number on how to get these guys up, or how are we doing this?
Well, especially because Brandon Pfaadt's on the same schedule as Mad Bum, essentially, and they called
he's a day off. The general manager legit came out about 2 hours ago and said, "Well, it was his schedule didn't line up well in Reno, so we decided to go a different direction."
That's such a lie.
Yeah, you could have pushed the start back. You could have done a million things. Like, give me a break.
Yeah, that was so bad, just so bad. But okay, he's pitched. If he would have pitched yesterday, it would have been fine. No, come on.
Yeah.
Now there could be a baseball reason, but if it's really a service time thing, I'm going to be so angry because Arizona's got so many other fun young guys. They're in freaking first place right now.
I was about to say they have a team that can battle if you just keep the train rolling. Don't let it derail that quickly. It's frustrating, very frustrating.
Yeah. Let's finish with some good news. This is I saw this in the chat, but I also saw it online before we started. Liam Hendriks is cancer-free.
Yep.
So that means it's time to rehab in full furbish now. For real with him. White Sox need any pitching help they can get. Back end, front end, you name it, they could use it. Plus, it's a good story. You want to see him do well. He's a guy that does well in the community as well. Not that makes it. I'd root for anybody to beat cancer, but I definitely want Liam. I'm very happy that Liam Hendriks has beaten cancer so far.
100%. It's great news. Like we've been kind of following. He's did a video when he rang the bell for his last cancer treatment and all that good stuff. And every time he's done any kind of video or anything, he looks in shape still. Like he's not just because, and I say this because I know some people, we all know people have been affected by cancer, but like when you go through the treatments he goes through, you usually kind of get a little more frail. And Liam did not look frail at all. And I know Lance Lynn is one of his like best friends, and he's come out and said Liam's still throwing. Like he's not throwing on a mound, but he's like playing catch. He's keeping his arm like in shape on the side. Yeah. And again, I try to be optimistic in life. I wouldn't be shocked if it's like 4 weeks, and like so let's say. I'll say June 1st to maybe keep it on around. We could see Liam at least in a rehab outing by June 1st, if not maybe slightly sooner, because he's a reliever. He's not a starter. He hasn't be fully like stretched out. So
exactly,
this could be an interesting scenario where, like you said, they need help back there. As much as we love Ronaldo Lopez closing games out and all these things, pretty sure we'd all appreciate Liam Hendriks coming back and getting the job done. So yeah, it looks pretty good.
We thought that we'd love seeing Reynaldo Lopez back there. The idea of Reynaldo Lopez back there has been better than the practice of Reynaldo Lopez.
It was
back
a great idea at the time.
It was a great spring training. We all had a lot of fun looking at prorating his relief stats from 2022 and putting it in a closer role, and then saying, "Oh wait, that's a straight fastball." Oh,
oops.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's been tough with closers anyhow. I mean, you just look at
all over the starters. You pick a pitcher, we could tell you the problem. So yeah, it's been a rough one for sure.
Ryan Presley still looking for that first save. Always great when you have your top closer guy, because you're spending a 4th or 5th round pick on a closer. You need him to be Jordan Romano out there. You don't, but it's all about the luck of when you get the save opportunities.
It's the team, and it goes back to Jason Collette was the Pete Fairbanks guy for obvious reasons, and Fairbanks still been great, but there's not a lot of save chances when your team's winning by 10 runs a game, it feels like. So he's limited on saves. And then you have the Angel situation. Estevez is technically the closer, but he's always getting overworked, needs a day off the day they get a chance to save. So Quijada's been getting the saves. It's all over the board with certain teams right now.
He's the master of getting work and protecting a 4-run lead 2 days in a row. Yeah.
Really good at saving those.
Yeah. We even saw Fairbanks in a 10-0 game yesterday, I think, because
he
needed to get work, and he was rusty. You could tell he didn't have the control.
Yep, it's crazy. It's crazy how that's a probably a whole other podcast, but closers in non-save situations. I know it's a mentality, but my goodness, it's like you'd never want to see it. You never ever want to see it.
Oh, it's painful. It's one thing if it's a tie game or finishing a game when there's when there's a 4-run lead, okay, fine. But when it's 7 runs and it's just he's got to get work, nothing good is going to come from this, or they're trailing.
Go to your live betting station, take the over on whatever's out there right now, because runs are going to get scored here very soon.
Yep. And then inevitably there's a save opportunity the next day. Almost always.
Yep. Never fails.
Indeed. All right. On that happy note, we'll close up shop today. Bubba, always a pleasure. Always enjoy talking with you. Thanks for coming on board today. What do you got in store?
Just the usuals. I got multiple things daily. I got Bubba and the Bloom recording Thursday night. So check that out. Myself and Ryan Bloomfield, good friend of all of ours, and just lots of content all over the place. So check me out on Twitter at BDentrek, BDENTREK, and you'll get all the goodies over there.
All right. Very good. Check out everything there. Just check him out on Twitter and see all of his podcasts. And I look forward to seeing you in person in November.
Yep, it's going to be great. We've already started planning Dobson Ranch Part 2, so it's going to be a blast.
Looking forward to it. All right. That's going to wrap up today's pod. Big thanks to everybody chiming in the chat. Really good stuff there. Thank you for all your input there. Thanks to Rival Fantasy and Vivid Seats for their sponsorship. We've got Clay and Todd with 2 starters tomorrow. Thanks for listening. Take